With the Warriors being this great, and even before the Warriors, LeBron creating the super team in Miami, or LeBron becoming an 8-time Eastern Conference champion in a row, it sucked drama out of the playoffs because there felt like an inevitability. And when you suck the most interesting storyline out of the league, it leaves us scrambling for other pieces, other crumbs, other stories. And so I think there's a three-pronged effect here. I think there's three reasons why this has become a problem for the NBA where it wasn't before. Number one is lack of drama, specifically when it comes to the Golden State Warriors. Unintended consequences. When Kevin Durant joined the Warriors, it ripped away who could beat them, how they could be beaten, who could win a championship, and the most important storyline. Without that, we are left to fill a void because people really love the NBA. People really love basketball. Number two, legacy. Players now are more in tune with their legacy than ever before. We are constantly comparing resumes of who's the greatest. The GOAT is a very modern phrase. When Joe Montana or Magic Johnson or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Hank Aaron are playing, nobody's saying, is he the GOAT? Who's the GOAT? What's the GOAT? Nobody has a little GOAT emoji. Nobody's giving these guys horns. That's a totally new thing. Mount Rushmore. Who's on your Mount Rushmore? How many Mount Rushmores are there? Nobody's doing that 30, 40, 50 years ago. That's a very modern scenario, modern dynamic. And with these players constantly in the middle of debates about their legacy, they realize the only thing to truly elevate their legacy automatically is winning championships. And so now they recognize they have to go places where they can win titles to make sure their legacies are intact so that they begin rising up those rankings while they're still playing. We used to not debate this while guys were playing. We used to debate this after they were already done. Now we're doing it as they're playing. And number three, roster fascination. We are a country fascinated by roster building. And I think a lot of it has to do with fantasy sports because we are now all our own general manager. And so we build our fantasy football team or fantasy baseball team or our daily lineups for daily fantasy. We are constantly looking ahead at what would happen if I added this player. What about swapping out this player? How about drafting this player? And so the draft of the NFL or farm systems in baseball or the lottery in basketball is now such a crazy cottage industry that we are constantly saying, well, what about if we put this guy on this team and swapped out this? Like that trade generator machine that's so popular on the internet, or people you follow in the media that create like 17-pronged trade scenarios for Anthony Davis. That's a totally new phenomenon. And it's because we are fascinated by this roster building. So Adam Silver doesn't like it that players want to move on. Players are kind of shooting their way out of town. And we are constantly fascinated by this churn of rosters, almost roster building sometimes, and player movements more interesting than the games themselves. And yet, there's a reason for that, specifically in the NBA. We know who's going to win your title, Adam. These players are desperate for their legacy in these conversations daily. And we love roster change. Because of that, this thing ain't going anywhere.